Time for another Animator on Animation, and I'm your host Animator, Tom Fremgen. This time let's take a look at a rare gem from 1984, Mighty Orbots. I say rare gem because apparently the show was sued out of existence. It was created by Fred Silverman, the guy who basically invented Saturday morning cartoons, when he helped DC and Filmation get the New Adventures of Superman on the air in 1966. Apparently he wanted to start making money off of making cartoons instead of just programming them. So he put together a bunch of different companies, including the great Japanese animation studio TMS, or Tokyo Movie Shinsha, and made Mighty Orbots, with help from one of the best animation action writers, Michael Reeves. The show was pretty mind-blowing for 1984, but it only lasted one season and was basically never rerun. This is because Tonka, who owned the license to the GoBots, sued them and they just didn't feel like fighting it, even though it seemed clear that Tonka would have lost. And as we all know, the GoBots were buried a year later by the Transformers. So I've not seen these episodes since like 1984. That is, not until I got this DVD set a few years ago, and well, let's just watch some of it now. Alright, here we go with the opening sequence, which as you can see features some of the best animation. This is pretty common. The best animation always seemed to be in the opening sequence of a cartoon. Spend the money on that to grab people and then cheap it up for the series. Well, I'm not really sure what was going on with that head shot. That was a little weird. It did a jig. Even that dancing is really nice. That's about as perfect as you can get, aside from that head twist. Let's go back and see if we can find out what went wrong there. Slow it down here. Boy, it really looks... Yeah, his head just does something weird. It's like the camera swings to the left and then it swings back to the right for some reason. And then it does something really weird. It's almost like the original plan was to do something else, but then they changed their mind, but they were already into production and they just left frames in that didn't need to be there. Let's see what happens if I cut them out. Okay, I like that. It's a bit of a jump cut, but I think it follows the angle of the motion, kind of like it gets a fast whip around the character. So that works for me. Alright, it's time for the intro sequence now.
With a touch of a button, the Orbots spring into action.
Oh, look at how pretty that is. Maybe a little timing issues here and there. Not sure what happened to the background there. Holy cow.
Orbots, unite! Ignition, Ono!
But this sequence puts like Voltron to shame.
The magnificent Mega Robot zooms off into space.
Let's go back and look at that background. Oh, I see. It goes black when Morph changes from an airplane. So it's a stylistic choice, but I don't know. It's a little weird to me. I would have just left it in the background.
Oh no! We're being pulled into the sun!
Are you kidding me? Did you see? They pulled out from her face, spun the cabin around, and zoomed in on his face. That's insane. That's just an insane amount of work to put together. Oh my gosh, look at this. There's... Nobody would ever do something like that. That's in a Saturday morning TV show. That's just crazy. There's a few flaws there, but... And look at this scene. Oh my gosh. It's amazing that they put this much work That is so impressive. Now as I slow it down, the flaws become more obvious. That's a very common thing in animation. The faster the action, the sloppier it can be. I often hear a lot of people talk about how great Japanese animation is because of the speed of the action. But it's not the speed of the animation that's difficult. Heck, it means fewer drawings. And if they don't match up right, well, you can see, no one's really going to notice. The truth is, the slower and smaller actions are the hardest to do. Like someone sighing or gently brushing a piece of hair back. Because then you can't have any off or wrong drawings because everyone's going to see it. This is what Disney animators were so good at, back when they used to draw their animation, and is why they'll always be the benchmark for good 2D animation. But getting back to these scenes, it's the changing of perspective that makes them so impressive, something that animators today have gleefully turned over to a computer to do. But back then, they had to do it all by hand, and it was almost always amazing looking, and something you would never see Hanna-Barbera or Filmation do. Because depending on the talent of the animator involved, it would just take too long to plan it out and do it right. Let's check out some more action here.
You have nowhere to run, Orbots Commander.
Gotta keep moving, or Umbro will find me.
I have found you, and now my pet will destroy you.
This is all really nice. Even when they're not doing great animation, like Rob running through this maze, they have great design to just make it as exciting as possible. Oh, that's an ugly run cycle there. Let's slow that down and take a look at it. Okay, this is kind of funny. The placement of his forward feet is all wrong. It's weird because his back feet are fine, but instead of stepping with a run, matching his posing and speed, he steps like walking. He should be landing his feet far out in front of himself. Instead, they land almost right below him. So you got all this hectic motion, but barely any movement. Just goes to show you that no production is perfect.
What's that?
The Orbots have located their commander. Stop them, Shadowbots.
Oh, very cool on how Rob jumps into the ship. Though I'm not so sure that twist is possible. Let's slow that down and take a look at it. Oh, I see. He's placing his hand on the ship to give him a twist, like a gymnast hitting a vault. Though the problem, realistically speaking, is the ship is moving way faster than he is. So where he might conceivably be able to jump up and land into the flying ship, there's no way he'd have the speed to rotate and then land. He'd more likely jump up, slap the ship, it would speed off while he was doing a twist, and he'd land on the ground. But hey, it's a cool shot.
I think we've worn out our welcome. Orbots, unite!
Another transformation sequence. Oh, this is pretty. I love how they don't cut away. They stay with the rotating robot as they all combine. Very well done.
Ignition!
I'd like a look at that.
Okay, let's take a look at a non-action scene.
Bort, look out! Oh no! That was one of the power dampers. Without it, the engine will explode.
Oh my, I better fix it. No,
That's not right. Dear,
A little cheating on Borf's morphing there.
I'm so nervous.
Wow, check out that reflection.
Quick!
There is just so much animation in this scene. It's crazy. If a character's not moving, they're using a lighting effect. This is just so beyond anything typically made for Saturday morning, even for a show today.
You did it! That was
For some perspective, let's take a look at some other cartoons that hit Saturday mornings in 1984. Some of them have pretty good animation, like Dungeons and Dragons here.
Hey, I'm all wet.
Now there's a bulletin from the newsroom.
Well, since I'm wet anyway, maybe I'll just go for a swim. Then again, maybe not.
Or even Pole Position.
The game is over, blank.
He's getting away!
Not from me.
Others like the Super Friends.
Putting on a little weight, Superman. Mirror Master, I always hope to ruin your image.
There's that overgrown
And this thing called Dragon's Lair.
That tree's not going to stop me.
Maybe not, but something else will. That tar pit.
Not so much. But even the really good ones are just not as full throttle as Mighty Orbots was. Sure, there are some flaws. I mean, we've seen a couple little painting errors go by. Nothing's perfect, but overall, damn. Okay, let's check out one more scene.
This is the planet Athena.
You know, all their backgrounds are really nice. Like a Sid Mead Fantasyland. If you don't know him, look him up. Sid Mead, a very influential designer.
No dish, sir. Suffering Saturn, what's that?
Shungda, pickled forebrain of Centauron slugwort.
Oh, Rob. How many times have I told you never to order
It's
an
funny.
alien?
Well, these are some very nice drawings. The animation is proving my point about subtle animation being the hardest to do.
Dashing and debonair like the Orbots commander.
You're always
Overall,
so
I'd say they just need more in-betweening or drawings to make the action smoother. Nice.
Dear, are you all right?
I think so. Look! It's...
Again, some really nice drawings. And this is the best way to cheat animation. Hold or slide some really nice drawings around, and who cares if they're actually animated or not? These are just really pretty.
If they're resting now, I'd hate to see them worked up. Come on!
Ooh, they got outside pretty fast. Oh, that's just sweet. Great layout and action there. See all these little twists they're giving the ships and objects as they fly by? It's so cool. And for the most part, it's not even necessary. If you have a ship fly by or a robot pose, they don't really need to change position, unless you want to impress the audience. And hey, I'm impressed.
I'll get reinforcements.
Okay, let's start wrapping this up. Based on what we all just saw, Mighty Orbots easily had the best animation of any show made for Saturday mornings. The only other show I can think of off the top of my head is Disney's The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh from 1988. A completely different style, but still stunning work for Saturday mornings. I suppose it behooves me to explain why, or to at least give my best educated guess to why it's so good. which I believe is because TMS was fully in charge of the production. Aside from the concept and the script, they did everything else, including the music. The show was also directed by Osamu Dezaki, an amazing Japanese animation director who earlier pushed limits with Space Cobra and Gogo 13. So instead of storyboarding the show in the USA and then having Dezaki's team animate it and then send it back to the USA for editing, which is the typical workflow and often causes confusion, Dezaki, or TMS, was in control the whole time. So he oversaw the boarding, designs, layout, animation, and editing. I also believe this was TMS's ticket to the American market. Instead of merely being a farm-out company for, say, Hanna-Barbera, they were effectively producing a show for the American market. So they were trying to make the show as stunning as it possibly could be. And that's why I believe the show is so amazing to look at. I also feel Japanese animators and producers are more ballsy than their American counterparts. For the sake of cost, most American television productions keep their boards as simple as possible and rarely attempt anything visually risky, where the Japanese attitude seems to be more, "F it, let's go for it." Either way, show's over. Thanks so much for watching some cartoons with me. And as always, please subscribe, like, share, and comment. It's the only way I'll know you'll love me. And I'm a very needy, lonely guy. Just ask my wife.